I used to believe that love meant walking in the same direction. 10 years of my life spent building a shared path. Every step, every decision, every dream carefully negotiated between two people who were supposed to want the same future. Then one house, one decision, one moment of clarity shattered everything I thought I knew about myself, about us, about what it means to love someone without losing yourself in the process. It was an ordinary Thursday when my partner told me he had bought the house. Not that he was thinking about buying it. Not that he was considering it. That he had bought it. Keys in hand, papers signed, mortgage approved. A 5-bedroom monster in a neighborhood I'd never chosen. 15 minutes from everything that anchored me to my life. The pride in his voice felt like sandpaper against my skin. I thought we agreed I wouldn't have to move there, I said, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. We were standing in our kitchen, the kitchen I loved, in the apartment where I'd built my life for the past 3 years. The afternoon sun filtering through the blinds made patterns on the countertop. I traced them with my finger, avoiding his eyes. "It's just for a year," he said, his tone infuriatingly reasonable. My dad paid off my credit cards. He gave me money for the down payment. He bought me a car. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. For 10 years, a decade of my life, my entire adult existence, I'd been so careful to build a partnership of equals. Now, I was watching him accept financial handouts from his father, making life-altering decisions without me, all while expecting me to simply fall in line. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. All I could feel was the walls of the life I'd carefully constructed crumbling around me. This wasn't about a house. This was about the sudden, terrible realization that the person I'd built my life around hadn't seen me for a very long time. The tears came later, when I was alone in the bathroom, water running to mask the sound of my breaking. We met when we were 15. Children, really. Two awkward teenagers fumbling through the wilderness of high school, finding in each other a safe harbor from the storms of adolescence. He was my first everything, first kiss, first love, first glimpse of what it might mean to build a life with someone else. Our relationship survived the transition to adulthood, weathered the storms of college and early careers. We moved in together at 22, established routines, divided chores, learned each other's habits and quirks. I thought we were growing together, our roots intertwining beneath the surface of our shared life. But looking back now, I can see the fault lines that had been forming for years. The small compromises that always seemed to fall disproportionately on my shoulders. The decisions that were presented as joint but somehow always aligned with his preferences. The way my desires and needs were heard but gently redirected. Like a river, being subtly channeled away from its natural course. I had spent 10 years believing we were equals, only to discover I had been slowly, steadily molding myself into a shape that fit his life, his family, his future. And I had done it so gradually, so willingly, that I hadn't even noticed the pieces of myself I was carving away. The house wasn't the problem. The house was just the moment when I could no longer ignore the imbalance that had been growing between us for years. "I'm not moving," I said a week after he closed on the house. We were sitting on the couch, the remains of dinner on the coffee table between us. The television murmured in the background, neither of us paying attention. "You're being unreasonable," he replied, the edge in his voice cutting through the forced calm of the room. "It's a beautiful house. It's a good investment. My dad is helping us get ahead." "No," I said, the word feeling strange and powerful in my mouth. "Your dad is helping you get ahead. This isn't about us. This is about you and your family and what you want." I watched the confusion spread across his face, followed quickly by frustration. "We've been together for 10 years. What's good for me is good for us. But what's good for me doesn't seem to matter." The silence that followed was deafening. I hadn't meant to say it, hadn't even fully realized I felt it, until the words were hanging in the air between us. But once they were out, I couldn't take them back. Didn't want to take them back. "That's not fair," he finally said, but the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. "Isn't it?" My voice was steadier now, gaining strength. "I told you I didn't want to rent that house. I told you I didn't want to move out of this apartment. I told you I was happy for you to buy the house as an investment, but that I wasn't going to live there. And you heard me. You said you understood. But then your dad made an offer that was good for you, and you took it without discussing it with me, without considering what it would mean for me, without thinking about how it would affect our life together." He stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe I had been pretending to be someone else for so long that my real self had become unrecognizable to both of us. "I love you," he said finally, as if that explained everything. As if love could erase the fundamental disconnect that was tearing us apart. "I know," I replied, "but I don't think that's enough anymore." The next few weeks were a study in slow-motion collapse. He moved into the house. I stayed in the apartment. We tried to pretend it was temporary, just a practical solution while we worked things out. We still saw each other almost every day. Still said "I love you" when we parted. Still went through the motions of a relationship that had defined our entire adult lives. But the distance between us wasn't measured in miles. It was measured in the growing realization that we wanted fundamentally different things from life. I found myself rediscovering pieces of myself that had been dormant for years. Walking to the coffee shop around the corner on Saturday mornings, sitting alone with a book, letting my thoughts wander without needing to explain them to anyone. Reconnecting with friends I had unconsciously pulled away from because he never quite clicked with them. Remembering passions and interests that had gradually fallen by the wayside as I aligned my life with his. The guilt was overwhelming at first. 10 years is a long time to share your life with someone. A decade of holidays and birthdays, inside jokes and shared memories, plans and dreams and promises. I felt like I was betraying not just him, but also the person I had been. The person who had loved him without reservation, who had believed our relationship was the foundation upon which the rest of my life would be built. But beneath the guilt was something else. Something quiet and insistent that grew stronger with each passing day. A sense of rightness, of coming back to myself, of breathing fully for the first time in years. He called me selfish. Said I was throwing away everything we had built together over something as trivial as a house. His father called once, trying to mediate, explaining the financial benefits of the arrangement, the long-term advantages, how everyone just wanted what was best for us. That was when I realized they had never seen me as an equal partner in this relationship. To them, I was an accessory to his life, expected to adapt to whatever plans they made, grateful for whatever financial advantages his family could provide us. The understanding hit me with such force that I had to sit down, the room spinning around me. For the first time, I allowed myself to ask the question that had been lurking at the edges of my consciousness. Was I in love with my partner or with the idea of the life we had planned together? Had I stayed in this relationship for 10 years because it was what I truly wanted, or because it was what everyone expected of me? The answer terrified me. 3 months after he bought the house, I found myself sitting on the floor of my apartment, surrounded by 10 years of accumulated memories. Photos from proms and graduations, vacations, and family gatherings. Notes and cards declaring undying love. Gifts imbued with the weight of shared history. I had always been the one to document our life together, to preserve the moments that defined us. Now I was the one dismantling the archive, trying to separate my story from ours, to understand where one ended and the other began. The tears came without warning, hot and fast, blurring the faces in the photographs, until they were unrecognizable. I wasn't crying for the relationship, or at least, not only for that. I was crying for the person I might have become if I had listened to myself sooner. For the years spent molding myself to fit someone else's vision of the future. For the gradual, almost imperceptible erosion of my own desires and needs. I was crying for the loss of certainty. For 10 years I had never questioned what my life would look like. Now the future stretched before me, unmapped and terrifying. What did I want? Who was I outside of this relationship that defined my entire adult existence? What would it mean to build a life based entirely on my own choices, my own preferences, my own dreams? The questions were overwhelming. In their wake came a wave of anger so intense it left me gasping. Not at my partner, though there was anger there too, but at myself. For being so willing to compromise. For dismissing my own instincts. For believing that love meant subordinating my needs to someone else's. I had always prided myself on being strong, independent, clear-eyed about what I wanted from life. How had I not seen the ways in which I was slowly disappearing? As the anger faded, something else took its place. A fragile sense of possibility. A tentative hope that out of this destruction, something new and true might emerge. Not a relationship built on compromise and expectation, but a life built on self-knowledge and authenticity. That night, I called my partner and asked him to meet me at his house. It was time for both of us to face the truth we had been avoiding. The house was bigger than I remembered. Standing in the cavernous living room, I could see why he had been so eager to buy it. 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a finished basement. Space to grow. Space for a family. Space for the life he had always imagined for himself. It was a beautiful house. It just wasn't my home. He was nervous, flitting around the room, showing me changes he had made, improvements he thought I would appreciate. New curtains in the living room. A desk in what could be my office. Plants by the windows. Desperate attempts to make this space feel like somewhere I could belong. "I need you to stop," I said finally, my voice gentle but firm. "I need you to really listen to me." He went still, the hope in his eyes so painful I almost couldn't continue. "I'm not moving in," I said. "Not in a month. Not in a year. I'm not putting my life on hold while you live out a plan your father created for you." "It's not like that," he protested, but the words sounded hollow even to him. "It is like that. And it's been like that for longer than I've been willing to admit. We've been letting your family shape our decisions, our future, our relationship for years. And I've been going along with it because I love you, and because it was easier than admitting that maybe we don't want the same things. But we do want the same things. We've always wanted the same things." I shook my head, feeling a strange calm settle over me. No. You've wanted certain things, and I've convinced myself that I wanted them too. But I don't want this house. I don't want to be dependent on your family's money or approval. I don't want to keep pretending that I'm happy with decisions I had no part in making. The silence stretched between us, filled with 10 years of unspoken truths. "What are you saying?" he finally asked, though I could see in his eyes that he already knew. "I'm saying that I think we both deserve more than this. More than a relationship where one person constantly bends to accommodate the other. More than a future built on compromises that feel like erasure. I never meant to make you feel that way. I know. And I did know. The tragedy wasn't that he had deliberately tried to diminish me. It was that he loved me, as he understood love, as a merging of lives, a blending of identities, a shared journey toward a common goal. He couldn't see that in that merging, I was the one who was disappearing. "I still love you," he said, and I could hear the desperation in his voice, the fear of losing something he had thought was permanent. "I still love you too," I replied, surprised to find that it was true. "But I don't think love is enough if it means I have to keep making myself smaller to fit into your life." As I looked around the house that was supposed to be our future, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. The weight of expectations. His family's, society's, my own. The weight of a future that had been planned for me rather than chosen by me. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Breaking up with someone you've loved for 10 years isn't a single moment. It's a series of small, painful separations. Dividing possessions. Untangling finances. Explaining to friends and family. Marking the first birthday alone, the first holiday, the first anniversary of the day you met. Each separation was a fresh wound, a reminder of everything we had lost. But with each passing day, I found myself standing a little taller, breathing a little easier, seeing the world through eyes that were newly, painfully my own. I kept the apartment. He kept the house. We divided our shared life with a precision that would have been impossible during our relationship. Each of us suddenly clear about what mattered, what belonged to whom, what could not be shared. The loneliness was crushing at times. 10 years is a long time to be part of a pair, to have someone to call at the end of the day, to sleep beside at night, to share the small triumphs and defeats that make up a life. I missed him, not just the person, but the certainty he represented, the known path, the future I could see stretching out before me, comfortable and predictable. But mixed with the loneliness was a growing sense of possibility. I rediscovered old passions, explored new ones, found myself saying yes to invitations I would have declined before, taking risks that would have seemed unthinkable. Slowly, painfully, I was learning who I was outside of the relationship that had defined me for so long. 6 months after our breakup, I ran into him at a coffee shop, not the one near my apartment, but a new place I had discovered on one of my weekend explorations. He looked different somehow. Older, more serious, but also more at peace. We talked for an hour, carefully avoiding the raw places, focusing on work, on mutual friends, on the safe territories of our newly separate lives. As we were saying goodbye, he hesitated, then said, "I want you to know that I understand now what you were trying to tell me. about making your own choices, about being your own person. I waited, unsure what to say. "I'm selling the house," he continued. "It was never really mine. It was my dad's idea, his plan for my life. I'm finally figuring out what I want, not what everyone else wants for me." Something loosened in my chest, a final knot of regret or guilt or unfinished business. "I'm happy for you," I said, and meant it. "I learned it from you," he replied, his smile a little sad but genuine. "You were always braver than me." We parted ways, and I walked back to my apartment alone, the afternoon sun warm on my face. I thought about bravery, about choices, about the different kinds of love, about the person I had been, and the person I was becoming. I thought about the weight of expectations, how they can shape us, constrain us, define us if we let them. How sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to put down that weight and walk away, even when it means leaving behind someone we love. And I thought about the future, not the one I had planned for so many years, but the one I was creating day by day, choice by choice. A future that was mine alone, at least for now. Uncertain and sometimes frightening, but also wide open with possibility. As I turned the key in my door, I felt it again, that sense of rightness, of coming home to myself. And I knew, with a certainty that had been a long time coming, that I had made the right choice. Not the easy one, not the expected one, but the one that honored the person I truly was. Sometimes loving someone means walking beside them. And sometimes it means having the courage to walk away, to find your own path, to become the person you were always meant to be. Even when it breaks your heart. Even when it breaks theirs. Even when it means stepping into an unknown future, alone, but finally, truly free. A year has passed since that day in the coffee shop. A year of firsts, first solo vacation, first holiday season alone, first time filing taxes as a single person. A year of rediscovering old parts of myself and unearthing new ones. I still live in the apartment. I've made it more mine than it ever was when we shared it. Painted the walls colors he would have hated. Rearranged the furniture to suit only my preferences. Filled the space with books and art and plants that speak to the person I am becoming, rather than the person I was. I still walk to the coffee shop on Saturday mornings, still chat with the baristas, who know my order by heart, still feel that small thrill of independence as I navigate the world on my own terms. The anxiety that once made driving so difficult has eased somewhat, not gone, but no longer controlling. I go where I want, when I want, answering to no one but myself. There are still hard days. Days when the future stretches out before me, vast and unknowable, and I long for the security of the life I left behind. Days when I question my decision, when I wonder if I gave up too easily, if I should have tried harder to make it work. But those days are fewer now, and less overwhelming when they come. I've learned to sit with the uncertainty, to embrace the not knowing as part of the journey, rather than something to be feared. I ran into my former partner's sister last week. She told me he finally sold the house, moved into a small apartment in the city, started a new job, one his father doesn't approve of. She said he seems happier, more himself. "He's doing what you did," she said, without accusation or judgment. Figuring out who he is without everyone else's expectations. Her words stayed with me for days afterward. It's strange to think that our separation might have given him the freedom to find himself, just as it did for me. That in walking away from each other, we were both finally learning to stand on our own. I don't know what the future holds. Don't know if I'll ever again find the kind of love we shared, the comfortable certainty, the shared history, the deep knowing of another person. Don't know if I'll ever want to. But I do know that whatever comes next, it will be a life of my own choosing. A path I've created for myself, step by careful step. The weight of expectations hasn't disappeared entirely. There are still days when I feel it pressing down on me. The expectations of family, of friends, of society, of my own internalized beliefs about what a life should look like. But I'm learning to recognize it when it comes, to set it down gently but firmly, to choose again and again the path that feels true to me. And in those moments when I'm able to do that, to live from a place of authenticity rather than obligation, I feel a kind of freedom that makes all the pain worth it. A sense of being fully present in my own life, fully awake to my own desires and needs and dreams. It's not the life I planned, not the future I spent 10 years imagining. It's something different, something entirely my own. Something I'm creating day by day, choice by choice, with no map to guide me but my own internal compass. And somehow, impossibly, that has become enough.